So this is the BSH Ratrod project bike, built a couple of years ago by Jim and Luke at the now defunct Smiley Monkeys. Now sadly defunct Smiley Monkeys, unfortunately. It did start out as to be quite a normal chop build and then just got seriously out of hand. Mainly because I kept seeing the bikes built by After Hours Bikes in Florida and going, oh look at them, aren't they mental? And it just kind of got silly. It actually was going to be a bike for Pam to ride, my girlfriend, but yeah. It's a little bit too big and too heavy for her now. But we'll have a quick walk round. As you can see, it's kind of different. I wanted something that looks like it was built back in like the 30s or something like that, and then been found in a barn and then restored, or just basically put back on the road with the minimal you can get. So the fuel tanks are at the back. It's got an 11.5-inch seat height with a chain tensioning system that keeps it from cutting your bum off. The left-hand tank is a fuel tank, the right-hand one is actually a battery box now. And it's got GSX 750 motor. The frame is a complete one-off, the forks are a one-off. It's got a GSXR back wheel and a GSX 750 front wheel as a back. The headlight was made out of a chicken feeder. What else? The back mudguard is a bit of old stainless mesh that just is lovely. When you see it in the sunlight, which of course has just gone about 10 minutes ago, it all changes colour. It's really weird. I thought when you first see it, it would just be a kind of a rust colour, but actually it's weird. It shows different colours when the sun gets on it. Oh, the sun's just coming out. You might be able to see some of them. The exhaust pipes, they wanted to make them almost kind of as if they were organic. But strangely enough, they're actually all the right length in that this thing carburetes beautifully. It pulls like an absolute train, it really does. I mean, you can keep your stuff on the motorway quite easily. It's slightly disconcerting because your head is about the same level as the bottom of a Range Rover's door, or, you know, the window part of a Range Rover's door, because it is so ridiculously low. But it's cool. It's one of those bikes that if you ride it, you have to get used to people looking at you, because people have just stopped in tracks going like, what the is that? But it actually rides really well, surprisingly. My first ride on it was because something else broke down. It was on a trailer. We'd taken it to Gloucester for the Rat Show a couple of years ago, and then the bike that I was riding broke down, so we had to put that on the trailer, and we couldn't get 3 of them on the trailer, so I had to ride it back. So I thought, well, that's alright, I'll just get on it and ride it for a bit. Then when it breaks, I'll ring the recovery service. And I rode it all the way home, 145 miles. And I could still walk, given that it's a rigid completely. It's actually unbelievably comfortable. Simon Harris at Attitude told me years ago that drop seat rigids, you know, flat seat rigids, are much more comfortable. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And then we built this one, and it actually is. It's actually incredibly comfortable. It's bizarre. You don't want to be too tall because it's quite weirdly, given that it's 9 and a bit foot long, I don't think it's actually long enough. It needs to be about another foot longer for the seating position. But as you can see, it has got ATCO written, that's the battery box, or the electrics box. That little tank underneath the headstock, and that's actually the coil box. And not, as some bloke at the NEC said to me, oh, it's not going to go very far on that tank, is it? What tank? Oh, a little one. What, you mean the one with all the wires coming out of it? Like, oh, yeah, that's the coil box, mate. Those 2 big ones on the back are actually the fuel tanks. And he went, oh, okay. The handlebars are worth a mention on their own. They were actually a sort of 1930s sheep hurdle that Jim and Luke found buried in the undergrowth on the farm there where their unit used to be. And they looked at it and thought, that'll be good. But it was surrounded by stinging nettles. Luke said, go on then, Jim, dive in there and get it. And Jim went, oh, I'm not going in there, it's full of stinging nettles. And Luke went, no, it's alright, don't worry, they don't sting it this time of year. And Jim's got shorts on. So of course he wades blithely into the middle of it and goes, ah! He looks around and Luke's holding onto a building from laughing so hard. What else can I tell you about it? The seat's quite clever, it's got a gel pad in it, it's actually quite comfortable. The leather on it, I'll go in a second, let's go in that way. There we are. The leather on it is actually from a 1937 Morris. A mate of ours was recovering the seat, and I said I didn't want it to look sort of new and lovely, and he went, no, that's alright, I've got some fantastic old leather off a Morris. And so that's been done, and then the sides are a BSH banner that we sort of kind of purloined and cut up. The motor's been hydro dipped, so to give it it's a toxic waste finish on it. I love the way you can see where the handlebars have been cut and all re-welded in order to get them to bend correctly. The frame's top tube is a one-off I-beam because you can't get I-beams that small. The smallest is about 4 inches, so that's made out of a piece of C-section with another bit welded onto it. It's just one of those bikes that, I'll just show you, you can see through the gun sight, which is just amuses me when you're riding it because it kind of set it in the middle of the road and follow people. It's just one of those bikes that there's nothing else like it around. It actually rides incredibly well. You have to man it, you really have to. There's no pussyfooting about, you have to ride it. You don't just get on it, you actually go, right, you're having it, you sod. But it runs beautifully and it goes really well. The first year I had it, I did about 1,000, 1,200 miles on it over the summer. Not mega mileage, you know, sort of went to the Soggy Moggy on it, went to a couple of Chopper Club do's. That was quite amusing. Don't think Chopper Club quite like things like bikes like this. But it's just a cool thing. But the thing is, I've had it for a couple of years and I'd quite like to do something else. So I'm going to have to sell it. So it will be up for sale if you want to contact me via the magazine. I don't know what I want for it, I haven't a clue, but I do need a van, so if anyone wants to swap it for a decent sort of transit size van, that would be cool. Otherwise I'm going to put it on the Bike Shed's website and see if I can sell it to someone, because it would look brilliant in like a, a cafe front window or one of those hipster barbers or something like that. But it is cool, it really is. I'll put some video up later of it with it running, because unfortunately I can't do that. I haven't got enough hands to hold the phone and go through the starting procedure. But I've just ridden it back this morning from a mate's place because it's just had a little bit of electrical work on it, and it's cool. It's all MOT'd, it's all insured, cheap insurance actually, about 80 quid, with a value of about 3.5 grand. So yeah, it's a cool little thing. That's the BSH Ratrod. Hope you like it. Don't really care if you don't particularly.